There were no half measures with Margaret Thatcher. She was the most loved Prime Minister and the most hated.
Joining the Labour Party, are you?
The one with the strongest influence, surely. Yet the most vilified too.
Yes, I will have a steak.
How'd you like it?
Oh, raw, please.
She stopped Britain going bust and turned things round and made it possible to govern Britain again.
I abominated Thatcherism for its absolutism, for its cruelty, for its divisiveness.
She was undoubtedly a remarkable Prime Minister. One has to put her among the major figures of the 20th century without a doubt.
No one who lived it has forgotten the Thatcherite decade. It casts a long shadow. Even today we feel the effect of her personality, her policies, and of Margaret Thatcher's vision of Britain.
Britain, when we came into office, was in the last chance saloon. And everyone realised, I think, people realised, that we really had to do a lot of rather tough things about it. And Margaret had a clear vision of what was necessary.
It was conviction politics. I know that's become a jargon phrase, but she had a strong idea of what she wanted to do. It was based on what she thought was the right thing to do.
Strange to think it now, but they underestimated Margaret Thatcher at first. Ted Heath never got over being dumped for an upstart grocer's daughter. The grand old Tories were slightly baffled by her sudden rise. When Labour was swept from office in 1979, the country didn't really know what to expect.
Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope.
But the Thatcherite revolution got off to a faltering start. Tough measures to bear down on inflation fueled the rise in unemployment. Soon her poll ratings were rock bottom, and the new PM had her back to the wall.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
That obdurate spirit would soon be put to the test in an unexpected arena. When the Argentinian General Galtieri ordered his troops into the Falkland Islands, he could have had no inkling of the determination with which Margaret Thatcher would coordinate the British counter-offensive.
It was a very, very brave thing to do against all the odds, 12,000 miles. And we now know that probably if one more capital ship had gone down, the whole response of the British to the Argentinian invasion would have failed.
By the time the staging post of South Georgia fell to British forces, the martial spirit had really taken hold.
God save the Queen.
What happens next, Mr. Knott?
Thank you very much.
What's your reaction,
Rejoice at that news and congratulate our forces and the Marines.
And once this bitter conflict had been won, those who doubted the Prime Minister's military judgment found themselves in a minority.
What was wrong with rejoicing? What is wrong with rejoicing when you've achieved success? God, there are some people in Britain, and this is what she was up against, who will never, ever, ever give any credit to Britain, who never rejoice in its success.
Margaret Thatcher's approach to Northern Ireland was uncompromising too. She allowed 9 IRA hunger strikers to die in the Maze prison, thereby reinforcing her status as Republican terrorists' #1 target. In Brighton, they came perilously close. But in retrospect, for all the bloodshed among those near to the Prime Minister, the bombing succeeded principally in carving a further chapter in the burgeoning Thatcher legend.
The fact that we are gathered here now, shocked, but composed and determined, is a sign not only that this attack has failed, but that all attempts to destroy democracy by terrorism will fail.
Confounding powerful foes was becoming a Margaret Thatcher trademark. She remembered well how striking miners helped defeat the Heath government, and if she now relished the prospect of grinding down the miners' leader, it was no less than he'd have wished for her.
There was a conscious effort to build up the coal stocks, to make sure there were contingency provisions made. Fortunately, she was a good strategist. Scargill was the most incompetent leader of an army I've ever encountered. To call a coal strike at the beginning of the summer, to alienate all the coal miners in my constituency and the rest of Nottinghamshire by not holding a ballot, he could not have played his hand worse.
The country was divided by a drawn-out and pitiless dispute. The spectacle of trades unions being brought painfully to heel angered some. For others, it was a vital step, clearing the path for business, enterprise, and wealth creation.
I'll do my bit. I know you'll do yours.
Thatcherism was now reaching its high watermark, a run of privatisations, yuppies, conspicuous consumption, the works.
These British Gas shares, did you know they'll be publishing the prospectus on November the 25th?
I didn't.
If you want to apply, you can reserve one over the phone. If you see Sid, tell him, will you?
And the Prime Minister's band of admirers spread far and wide, none more devoted than Ronald Reagan.
Margaret ended our first meeting by telling me we must stand together. And that's exactly what we've done.
Margaret Thatcher had been among the first to urge Reagan to deal with the Soviet reformer Mikhail Gorbachev, and as the wall fell, it was widely viewed as a victory for her and her American partners' staunch defence of freedom. As Margaret Thatcher's reputation overseas soared, at home she was losing her grip. With opposition to her poll tax project at fever pitch, the Iron Lady began to look obstinate and out of touch.
The single most unpopular policy that any government has followed for as long as I can remember.
The real tragedy is
Cabinet colleagues deserted her and stuck the knife in.
it's rather like sending your opening batsman to the crease, only for them to find, the moment the first balls are bowled, that their bats have been broken before the game by the team captain.
Michael Heseltine's subsequent challenge for the leadership holds the Prime Minister below the waterline, though at first she wouldn't admit it.
Where's the microphone? It's here, this is the microphone.
Naturally very pleased that I got more than half the parliamentary party and disappointed that it's not quite enough to win on the first ballot. So I confirm it is my intention to let my name go forward for the second ballot.
We had one of our typically robust conversations. She said, "You're being defeatist." And I said, "But you've been defeated. I'm not being defeatist. You won't win a second ballot. The party wants you to stand down."
And so, to her evident bewilderment, the party turfed its true blue champion out on her ear.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're leaving Downing Street for the last time after 11 and a half wonderful years, and we're very happy that we leave the United Kingdom in a very, very much better state than when we came here 11 and a half years ago.
These traumatic moments scarred the Conservatives. For her supporters, it was nothing short of treachery. The party Margaret Thatcher had drawn together fell into years of squabbles and fierce recrimination. Margaret Thatcher still influences our political world. Every top-flight politician since has grappled with the Thatcher legacy. Tony Blair's sweeping victory came after he had reconciled his party with great swathes of the Thatcherite project. Another Labour Prime Minister who had fought her tooth and nail later claimed to have inherited her mantle of being at heart a conviction politician. And David Cameron's route to office was smoothed by a repudiation of the rough edges, the perceived selfishness at the heart of Thatcherism. She, of all modern-day politicians, is the figure against which others measure themselves, measure their aspirations, measure their achievements.
Listen to everyone. I must go down and talk to them.
It's an unforgiving business. If truth be told, there aren't many who benefit from comparison with Margaret Thatcher.